My name's Peter. I live on the Rodney Road estate in Elephant and Castle, the centre of London, as I like to call it. I'm married to Winnie. We've got 3 children who are 13, 10 and 7.
My name is Sabrina Hanley. I work at Royal Mail as a head of environment, so a bit of a corporate climate activist. I was a leaseholder actually, so a shared ownership at a West Ealing Peabody resident for 6 years, and I very recently moved to Portsmouth with my 2-year-old, my dog and my partner Richard.
I applied to be a Peabody resident board member almost by accident. I went to a Q&A session for residents at the Elephant and Castle. And one of the resident involvement officers came and spoke to me afterwards and said that there was an opportunity to join the board, and he thought I would be a good option, or it'd be a good opportunity. So I decided to apply because I wanted to sort of amplify the voices of residents at board level.
I applied to be a Peabody resident board member because at the time I was active with my residents association, and I thought that it would be a really good way to get my resident perspective and the way that our shared ownership group have lived into Peabody's thinking and working. I also felt like it was a nice fit for my own career development, and at the time we were also kind of in the midst of a cladding crisis with my flat, and there was some bits and bobs going on there, and so all of these 3 things together I think are what made me think that maybe applying would be a good idea.
I think it's really important to have residents on the board because they provide a unique perspective for other board members on what the experience is living in the Peabody home. I think we have on-the-ground experience which sometimes isn't reflected in board papers, and also have a way of looking at board papers that can tease out new information and provide a better experience and better information for colleague board members and for the board in general.
I think it's extremely important to have residents on a board at a housing association like Peabody. You know, the board and the team here are really keen to always be doing the right thing, and they're very wanting to have a resident voice. I think some of the things that I have said or I've pointed out during my 1.5 years here has helped the board to see it from a different perspective and maybe think twice or add another point of view in. It's a point of view you don't get if I'm not there, and so I think that it does add real value.
Since joining the board, I'd like to think that I've brought a fresh perspective, honest perspective, not sugar-coated but not combative.
I think I was really clear when I joined the board at Peabody what I wanted to campaign for. So firstly, shared ownership and sort of leaseholder group are a growing tendency with housing associations, and I thought it would be really nice to leave a legacy where we're looking specifically not that the social side isn't important, but also kind of considering them their own tenure and understanding their needs better. So that was a really big part for me. And I think the second thing that I've really brought through is kind of the sustainability experience from work. I'd say there's probably 1 or 2 of us on the board that have that skill set, and it's a very relevant agenda at the moment with a climate emergency. So those 2 things.
Since joining the board, I've gained a huge amount of different skills. I think I've enhanced some skills that I already had, so listening, reading, analytical skills, but I've also had opportunities to develop my knowledge of the housing sector, knowledge around finance and administration, all those sorts of strategic skills that you need to sit on the board, and been well supported by the governance team in the organisation to identify learning opportunities and to go on training courses, so I've gained a lot.
Oh, what a journey it's been as a board member. I've gained so many skills. It's been a real eye-opener to kind of learn so much about the business, the financial side as well as the engagement side. And I think it's a real skill and a real art to put them all together and try to make effective decisions. You can make a very, very good decision that's right for sort of one group, and for it to maybe not tick all the boxes elsewhere. And so, you know, one of the skills I've had to learn is what are the 4 or 5 things that really are the benefit for everyone as a whole, and that kind of skill set's been really important. I think I probably came into this very one-sided, just about shared ownership, just about leaseholders, and it's really opened my eyes to the wide range of challenges that Peabody has to help its residents through, really. So yeah.
I've had lots of opportunities to go on different sorts of training, including training around understanding risk, finance training, as well as attending different conferences on housing.
Peabody have offered me a lot of training and support since I started in March. A lot of the other board members, they've got decades of experience, and we come in with an important resident view but with very little experience of the board. And I think Peabody are really conscious of that, and so I've had quite a lot of site visits, development tours, a lot of opportunity to talk one-to-one with some of the business leaders and ask as many stupid questions as I think that I can ask. I've really been blown away at the amount of support and energy that they've put into my training the last year.
Being a board member, I've been offered lots of different experiences, which I've really enjoyed, particularly getting a good look at the wider organisation. So I've been able to go on estate tours, I've been to see the different projects that the Community Foundation does, we've been on development tours to see what's being built, how it's being built, and so there's been really exciting opportunities that have developed my understanding of the organisation.
As a board member, I've had the opportunity to go to quite a lot of different sites and at different stages as well. So Holloway Prison, and getting to have a tour around that, which was just recently sort of emptied, and we were thinking, about planning permission, going around and really absorbing the history of women at that site and the real kind of culture and heritage that Peabody were inheriting, I think was really special. And then the other site visits were really to talk to residents, actually, and I think that that's a legacy that's going to live with me for a long time beyond this board position. Just the voices of so many people, the good and the bad, and everything in between, I guess, will really stick with me.
So being a board member means that you have to manage several different commitments. So I've got a family, a full-time job, and I sit on the board. But it's very manageable because of the support that I get from Peabody and the support I get from friends and family as well. So we get the papers in good time, which allows me to portion my time in preparation and read what's important before the meeting. I'm well supported by my wife, and Peabody as an organisation make it really easy. So if I needed to bring the children to a meeting, that's been possible. If I've needed to organise childcare, all those sort of things you can claim expenses on as well. So it's difficult, but it's manageable. But you have to be really deliberate about it, I suppose. It's really important to know that it's a great responsibility and privilege being a resident board member. And I really want to present residents in the best light, which means I have to ensure that I make the time to be prepared, to have read the papers, and to organise my life accordingly. So I had to make changes to become a board member, but it's very doable.
I'd say on average I'm spending 2 days a month, but it comes in waves sort of around the board meeting, and that's the kind of time that I set aside. So I would say also that Peabody themselves are really good at putting the board meetings in sort of the afternoons or the evenings rather than during work hours as a core, and also are really good at allowing us to respond to emails and stuff out of hours, which just really also helps me to be really flexible with the job.
I was given really good advice when I joined a board. I was asked 2 questions: can you read and can you ask questions? And I think as long as you can do those 2 things, you're really equipped to join the board. If you're passionate about housing, passionate about residents and their experience and sharing that at the highest level, then the best advice is to go in there with all your energy, all your thoughts, and be the best you can be. As long as you can read and ask questions, then you're ready to go.
If you're nervous about it, I would say just apply. I think there's probably so many people out there, right, that think, oh, maybe I don't have enough of this and I don't have enough of that. And I definitely felt that when I applied, and I'm really glad that I just pushed through it and put my application in. I would say that it's also really important to kind of be clear with yourself what your campaign is. You can't come into Peabody board member and represent everyone and have a voice about everything all at the same time. So to kind of have a think about what is your story and how is your story meaningful to other residents, and how can you make a change with that story and with that voice. I think if you can really answer those questions and you can put those in your application, that would be my one piece of advice. I definitely don't think you need to have sat on a board before, like I certainly haven't. And I think that there are so many transferable skills from the work that we do every day, and also with the work that we would do in the home as well, as a mother, as a father, as a family member. You know, diplomacy, patience, the ability to consider people's point of views from many different angles, and to consider that a problem has more than just a black and white story for it. I think these are all important things, and it's about your character and your behaviour as much as your experience. So yeah, I would highly recommend that people apply if they've never been a board member before.